You've likely watched those medieval films before. Filthy peasants, sure, but sunlight still bathes the fields. Crops stubbornly push through the soil. People somehow scrape by. Here's what those stories never show. What if the sun simply stopped? Not vanished completely. But imagine waking one morning to find the sun glowing an eerie blue. What if its weakened rays barely illuminated your outstretched hand? And suppose this unnatural twilight persisted, not for days or weeks, but for 18 agonizing months? Most believe medieval life was harsh, but they can't begin to comprehend. In the year 536 CE, catastrophe struck on such scale that modern historians unanimously declare it humanity's worst year. A mysterious fog smothered Europe, the Middle East, and parts of Asia, blotting out the sun for 18 endless months. Not ordinary clouds, not passing storms. This was an unrelenting shroud, transforming daylight into perpetual dusk. The cruelest part? No explanations. No predictions when it might end. And absolutely no preparation for the horrors to come. So yes, if these tales help you sleep, a like or subscribe would be appreciated. Drop your location and time zone too. I check comments, and it's wild seeing Australians and Norwegians on the same thread. Tonight, we journey to 536 CE. But first, get comfortable. I mean properly cozy. Fluff those pillows. Wrap yourself in blankets. Trust me on this. Congratulations, you've just awakened in the Byzantine Empire, March 536. That straw mattress beneath you? Nothing like memory foam. Just a scratchy sack stuffed with last autumn's dried plants that crunches when you move, pokes your ribs, and definitely houses insects you've learned to ignore. Something's wrong immediately. Dawn should paint warm gold through your one-room hut's wooden shutters. But today, different. The rooster crowed, yet daylight hasn't followed. Maybe just storm clouds? You've weathered those before. Your father's already at the door, peering outside with uncharacteristic confusion. Your mother stokes the central fire, smoke curling through the thatched roof's hole. "What is it?" she asks, noticing his expression. He shakes his head. "Come see." Outside, reality fractures. Morning? More like deathbed twilight. And the sun, what's visible through the haze, isn't gold or orange, but sickly blue, dim as a full moon. An eclipse? You ask. No, your father mutters. Eclipses don't last, and the sun doesn't turn blue. The entire village emerges now, faces upturned, expressions oscillating between awe and primal terror. Old Elena, the village elder who survived famines, wars, and 3 husbands, declares with theatrical gravitas, "End times. Just as prophets foretold, darkness upon the land." "Oh, shut it, Elena." Your father snaps, bold words for addressing the village matriarch. "You said that when the 2-headed calf was born 5 years back. Has life improved since? Taxes climbing, Goths and Vandals wreaking havoc everywhere. And now this." She gestures dramatically at the ghastly blue sun. "Mark my words." But you notice your father's forced bravado. Like most families, yours depends entirely on farming. Barley, vegetables, chickens, a single goat. Your survival hinges on predictable seasons, reliable sunlight. As a 10-year-old, your duties involve animal care and egg collection. Even the chickens are disoriented, retreating to their coop after brief, confused forays. Animals sense disruptions humans ignore. What does it mean? You ask, tugging your father's coarse homespun tunic. "I don't know," he admits. 3 words more terrifying than any elder's doomsaying. Your father always has answers. "We should work regardless," he adds unconvincingly. "Fields won't plow themselves." But even as he speaks, unseasonable cold penetrates your clothes. Not winter's bite, but certainly not March's promised warmth. Your breath fogs the air. Freezing, your mother whispers, tightening her shawl. "How can it be this cold? Yesterday was warm." Morning chores proceed with eerie wrongness. The goats agitated. Chickens refuse to leave safety. An unnatural silence blankets the village. No bird song, not even insect hums. By what should be noon, the light hasn't strengthened. If anything, it's weaker. The blue sun hangs like a specter, casting such feeble light that you realize with dawning horror, you're not casting shadows. Neither is anyone else. Look, you point at the shadowless ground. Your father freezes mid-task, staring. It's true, the sun's so weakened it can't cast definitive shadows. In your entire life, you've never witnessed such blasphemy against nature. A traveler brings word. Constantinople suffers identically. Emperor Justinian ordered palace lanterns lit at midday. Some claim divine punishment for imperial wars. Others whisper of Persian mages cursing Byzantium. That night, your family clusters around the fire, extra blankets piled high. Your mother voices the unspeakable. What if the sun never returns properly? What happens to our crops? Your father's delayed response speaks volumes. The sun must return, he finally says, but doubt bleeds through. 3 days pass without change. Blue sun, deathly dimness, unnatural cold. The village simmers with panic. 2 families already fled south, chasing rumors of milder darkness. Your father confers with village men by the well. You eavesdrop. My wheat hasn't grown a finger's width in 3 days, says Nicholas, the wealthiest farmer. Like time itself froze. Same with my barley, another adds. And have you noticed? No insects on the plants either. We should send someone to Constantinople, your father suggests. Learn what officials know. Nicholas scoffs. They'll tell peasants nothing. Besides, Stefanos came through yesterday. Same conditions there. Lanterns at noon. Priests leading street prayers. A typically quiet villager murmurs. A merchant said it's identical everywhere. Persia too. The men absorb this horrifying implication. If universal, there's no escape. That night, you overhear your parents' hushed debate after pretending to sleep. We must inventory our food stores, your mother insists. If crops fail, they'll grow. Your father interrupts, but uncertainty lingers. And if not, she presses. Last harvest grain won't last past summer, even rationed. Then we'll forage, fish, game. Everyone will. There won't be enough. You pull blankets tighter, trying to block their words but failing. You've never heard such naked fear in their voices. A week later, the unending twilight persists. You're adapting to the blue-tinged world, but the cold worsens. Morning frosts now appear in what should be spring. Crops show no growth, some wither. Your father sets forest traps, a winter practice. Your mother stretches grain by mixing bitter acorn meal into bread. No one complains. Village tensions erupt over trivialities. 2 men brawled over grinding stone turns. The headman intervened. 10 days into the darkness, Byzantine soldiers passed through, Justinian's men heading west. Their armor gleams dully in the cursed light. Your father approaches cautiously. Peasants and soldiers share tense history, especially regarding taxes. What news from the capital? Your father asks the scar-faced soldier leading the troop. The man glances up at the sickly blue sun, his expression grim. Same as here, he grunts. The emperor's scholars are scrambling for answers. Some say it's ash from a fire mountain in the north. Others claim it's dragon's breath. He shrugs, armor clanking. All I know, we're still expected to fight the Goths in Italy, darkness or no. And the crops? Someone else dares to ask. The soldier doesn't soften the blow. Nothing's growing in Constantinople. Food prices have already multiplied tenfold. The emperor's ordered grain shipments from Egypt. He cuts himself off, but the unspoken truth hangs heavier than the unnatural haze. Cities starve first. After the soldiers leave, taking a portion of the village's precious food as imperial tax, the headman gathers everyone. We must be smart, he declares, his voice strained but firm. If the crops won't grow, we rely on what we've stored. From today, strict rationing. Daily foraging parties, mushrooms, berries, game, anything edible. What about the city? A voice calls from the crowd. Should we go there? The headman shakes his head. Cities will starve first. Here, at least, we have land. Forests. As the crowd disperses, you notice how neighbors avoid each other's eyes. Everyone is already calculating their own family's supplies, measuring survival in handfuls of grain. That night, you're jolted awake by shouting outside. Your father grabs his pitchfork and throws open the door. Your mother pulls you back, but through the gap, you see torchlight flickering against the night. Someone has broken into the village storehouse, where the seed grain is kept. The headman and others have caught the thief, Dmitri, whose family arrived last winter. My children are starving, Dmitri shouts as they restrain him. What was I supposed to do? We're all going to starve, the headman snaps. But if we eat the seed grain now, we'll have nothing to plant if the sun returns. If it returns. Dmitri spits. My family can't wait for if. The punishment for stealing seed grain is severe. In normal times, banishment or worse. But these aren't normal times. 3 days in the stocks, the headman declares. And your family's rations cut for a week. It's both harsh and lenient. 3 winter nights exposed could kill a man, yet the crime might have warranted execution before. As days bleed into weeks, the eerie twilight becomes the new normal. Your eyes adjust to the dimness, but the cold worsens. April arrives, yet frost still glazes the ground each morning. The fields remain barren. Your family's food stores dwindle. You've all grown thinner. Your mother skips meals, claiming she isn't hungry, but you know she's giving her share to you. The forest provides scraps, a few mushrooms, early berries, the occasional scrawny rabbit from your father's traps, but never enough. Travelers bring fragments of news, same everywhere. From Hispania to Persia, the sun is choked. Crops fail. The empire, stretched thin by Justinian's wars, buckles under famine. One morning, a month into the darkness, your father is gone before dawn. Hunting, your mother explains. They've gone deeper into the forest. There'll be days. In his absence, you take on more chores, checking the shriveled garden, coaxing eggs from listless chickens, scouring the forest's edge for anything edible. On the 3rd day, while gathering firewood, you freeze at a sound. A deer, a young doe, watches you from between the trees. In normal times, this would be a miracle, but the animal is gaunt, ribs visible beneath its coat. The cold and failing plants have starved everything. You don't move. You have no weapon, no way to catch this fleeting hope. The doe stares at you, one long, silent moment, then vanishes into the skeletal trees. When you tell your mother, she sighs. The animals are suffering too. Everything is. That night, lying on your scratchy mattress, you stare at the thatched roof and wonder, will the sun ever return? Will we ever feel warmth again? Or is this the world now, cold, dim, and hungry? Your father returns the next day with a hunting party. They're exhausted, empty-handed, but for one scrawny boar and a few squirrels. The forest's empty, he tells your mother when they think you can't hear. Animals dead or gone. And we weren't the only ones hunting. Saw people from other villages, even city folk, desperate. What do we do? Your mother's voice trembles. A long silence. Then, we may need to go to Constantinople. The idea terrifies you. You've never ventured beyond the market town. Constantinople is a day's journey, a legendary city of towering walls and the magnificent Hagia Sophia, teeming with more people than you can imagine. But the thought of real food, not acorn gruel or stringy squirrel, twists your stomach with longing. The headman calls another meeting. The news is worse. Imperial tax collectors are coming, demanding their share of the village's non-existent harvest. We barely have enough for ourselves. Someone protests. Refuse, and they'll take it by force, the headman says wearily. Then what? Your father demands. Wait here to starve. No one has an answer. 2 days later, your family makes a decision. Like others in the village, you'll risk the journey to Constantinople. The city will be dangerous, especially now. But staying means certain death when winter returns. You pack what little you can carry. Spare clothes, your mother's bronze cooking pot, a small sack of grain, a knife. Your father trades your goat to Nicholas for a rickety cart. You'll pull it yourselves, having no horse or oxen. On the morning of departure, you take one last look at your home. The dimness still clinging like a curse. The fields that should be green now brown and dead. As your family joins the stream of desperate travelers on the road to Constantinople, you realize this is only the beginning. The darkness that fell in March 536 would last 18 months, and what came after would be worse. The road to Constantinople is choked with refugees, not just from your village, but from every farm and hamlet for miles. Everyone shares the same hollow cheeks, the same desperate hope that the great city might offer salvation from the endless twilight. Your family's cart creaks as you help your father haul it over rutted roads. Inside, your few possessions, and your mother, who twisted her ankle on the first day. Progress is painfully slow. Look at them all, your father mutters, nodding at the sea of hollow-eyed travelers. The emperor will have his hands full, if he even lets us in. A man trudging nearby overhears. I heard they're turning people away at the gates. Your father frowns. They can't turn away everyone. The man just shrugs. The city must feed its own first. The words chill you deeper than the unnatural cold. What if we endure this journey only to be denied? As night falls, though day and night blur together now, your family camps roadside. Fires flicker in the gloom, casting more light than the sun has in weeks. No one shares food. Those who have any guard it jealously. Your mother winces as she examines her swollen ankle by firelight. It's not healing, your father murmurs. I can walk tomorrow, she insists, but pain tightens her voice. An old woman from another village hobbles over. Bad twist, she says, eyeing your mother's ankle. Without invitation, she plops down and rummages in her pouch. Willow bark. Chew it. Tastes like donkey piss, but it'll dull the pain. Your mother hesitates, then accepts with a nod. Been traveling 3 days, the woman continues. Left when my son's family did. They went ahead, young legs move faster. She surveys the makeshift camp, the dozens of fires dotting the darkness. Never seen anything like this. Not in 70 years. The darkness. Your father asks. All of it, she croaks. The cold. The dead crops. This. She gestures at the sickly sky. This ain't natural. Morning. If you can call it that, when the sky merely shifts from black to a murky blue twilight. Your family continues toward Constantinople. Your mother limps stubbornly despite her swollen ankle, leaning heavily on a walking stick. The old woman from last night, who introduced herself as Agatha, joins your group. Safety in numbers, she claims, though you suspect she's just lonely. By midday, the legendary walls of Constantinople rise in the distance. Even through the haze, they're staggering. Massive stone barriers stretching across the horizon, taller than anything you've ever seen. Towers and church domes loom beyond them. But something's wrong. The road to the main gate is jammed with hundreds, maybe thousands, of people. And the gate itself is shut, armored guards blocking it with crossed spears. That doesn't look good, your father mutters. As you push closer, the crowd's angry shouts reach you. Let us in. We'll starve out here. A helmeted soldier bellows over the chaos. By order of Emperor Justinian, only registered citizens may enter. Show proof of grain ration eligibility or turn back. The Annona, the city's grain dole, is for residents only. Your rural family has no such privilege. What now? Your mother whispers, her face pale with pain and fear. Your father scans the scene. We find another way in. A smaller gate, maybe, or someone who'll vouch for us. The harbor of Theodosius, Agatha pipes up. Everyone turns. My son works the docks. If we find him, he might help. It's a slim chance, but better than nothing. Your group peels away from the main road, circling west along the city walls toward the sea. The detour takes hours. By the time you reach the harbor, the dim daylight is fading into true night. The docks are frantic despite the late hour, ships being unloaded in haste. Even in the gloom, you recognize the cargo. Grain ships, their contents more precious than gold now. Workers swarm like ants under the watch of armed overseers, ensuring none of the food disappears. The air reeks of fish, salt, and sweat. A chaotic symphony of shouting, braying animals, and creaking ropes. How do we find your son in this? Your father asks Agatha. He's a foreman, name's Demetrios. Ask anyone. Your father questions dock workers until one points toward a large warehouse. Might be inside, tallying shipments. The warehouse is surprisingly warm, crowded with laborers hauling grain sacks. Oil lamps cast shaky light through the dusty air. Demetrios, your father calls. We're looking for Demetrios. A burly man with a short beard glances up from a wax tablet. Who's asking? We brought your mother. Your father says, gesturing to Agatha. The man's face transforms. Mother. He rushes over, embracing her. I told you to stay in the village. Village is dying. Agatha says simply. Everyone's leaving. Demetrios looks at your family, his expression weary. And these people help me on the road. Good folk. He exhales sharply. Mother, the city's overflowing. There's barely enough food, even with shipments from Egypt. They've closed the gates to outsiders. Please, your mother says, stepping forward. We've nowhere else to go. Our crops failed. Everything's dying in this darkness. Demetrios studies her. Then you, a child with sunken eyes, and his resolve cracks. I can get you inside, he says finally. But finding shelter and food, that'll be harder. We'll work, your father says quickly. Anything. Farming, hauling, whatever's needed. Demetrios laughs humorlessly. Farming? In a city with no sun? But he sobers. Dock work, then. Hard labor, little pay. Anything, your father repeats. That night, your family sleeps on grain sacks in the warehouse, the softest bed in weeks, despite the lumpy discomfort. Demetrios brings a small bowl of fish stew. Don't tell anyone I gave you this, he warns. Food riots started last week. People are desperate. At dawn, Demetrios leads you through a service gate in the walls. He vouches for you as dock workers, which gets you past the guards, though they eye you suspiciously. Then, suddenly, you're inside Constantinople, the greatest city in the world. Even veiled in twilight, it steals your breath. Buildings taller than trees. Streets paved with actual stone. People everywhere, not just farmers like home, but men in embroidered robes, women with painted faces, soldiers in gleaming armor, priests in flowing vestments. The noise, after your quiet village, is overwhelming, a constant din of voices, animals, commerce. But beneath the grandeur, you spot the same fear that drove you here. Faces gaunt with hunger, half-empty market stalls, soldiers patrolling everywhere, hands on weapons. Outside a large building, hundreds queue for what must be food rations. The emperor opened the city granaries, Demetrios explains, following your gaze. Each citizen gets a portion, barely enough, but something. He leaves the implication unspoken. You're not citizens. He leads you to the harbor district, a maze of narrow alleys and crowded tenements reeking of fish and sewage. At a dilapidated building wedged between warehouses, he stops. My friend Sophia runs this boarding house. She might have space in the cellar. It's not much, but it's shelter. The cellar is a dirt-floored stone room already shared by 2 other families, but it's dry and safer than the streets. Your mother nearly weeps when she can finally rest her injured ankle. How much? Your father asks, reaching for your meager coin pouch. First week's covered, Demetrios says. A favor to my mother. After that, we'll see about work. Over the next days, a new routine emerges. Your father labors on the docks from dawn till dusk, unloading ships for a few coppers, sometimes earning damaged grain otherwise meant for trash. Your mother, once her ankle heals, finds work washing clothes for a wealthy family near the Forum of Constantine. You're left to your own devices, a terrifying freedom. The city is dangerous for a child alone, but also thrilling. You quickly learn which market stalls might toss a hungry child bread crusts, which alleys to avoid, gang territory, how to make yourself useful enough that adults don't shoo you away. One afternoon, while helping a baker stack baskets, you notice a commotion near the Forum. A robed man preaches from a building's steps to a gathered crowd. A test from God, he thunders. This darkness is punishment for straying from the true path. Emperor Justinian builds churches while heresy flourishes. The sun hides because of our sins. Repent. Give your wealth to the church before it's too late. That's Cosmas, says a voice beside you. A boy about your age, grubby cheeks, sharp eyes, watches the spectacle with you. He's been preaching doom since the darkness started. Is he right? You ask, is this really about sins? The boy shrugs. My dad says it's a fire mountain far away. He was a sailor. Said he saw one once, spewing smoke into the sky. A fire mountain sounds as unlikely as divine wrath, but you don't argue. I'm Theo, the boy offers. I'm from the country, you reply. Just got here. Theo nods like this explains everything. Lots of country folk coming. City people hate it, say there's not enough food already. As if to prove his point, a disturbance erupts at the crowd's edge. A bread cart's arrive, likely headed for official distribution. But people are swarming it, grabbing loaves. The driver lashes his whip as soldiers rush in. Come on, Theo yanks your sleeve. When food's involved, you don't want to be nearby. Soldiers don't care who they hit. You follow him into a side alley as shouts and scuffles echo behind you. Happens all the time now, Theo says matter-of-factly. My mom says if the darkness doesn't lift, the city will eat itself alive. Weeks pass. Summer should be blazing, but the air stays unnaturally cool. Frost still glistens on the ground some mornings, even in June. The blue sun continues its sickly vigil, barely piercing the haze. If anything, the dimness seems to be worsening. News from beyond the city walls is dire. Crops are failing across the empire. Food prices double daily. Emperor Justinian has ordered more grain ships from Egypt and North Africa, but they can't feed everyone. As always, the poor suffer first. Your family's situation is precarious. Dock work is sporadic. Some days your father comes home with coins. Others there are no ships to unload. Your mother's employers have slashed her wages, pleading hardship. The cellar room you share with two other families feels smaller as tensions rise. One evening, your father returns with a cloth-wrapped bundle, his face tense but hopeful. He unwraps it carefully, a handful of beans, shriveled vegetables, and a tiny piece of salted fish. From a southern ship, he whispers. The captain said the darkness isn't as bad there. We should go south then. Your mother says immediately. Your father shakes his head. No passenger ships. And the roads, he doesn't need to finish. You've all heard the rumors. Bandits, desperate travelers, villages stripped bare. We plant these, he says instead, pointing to the beans. Found a patch of dirt near the city wall, an abandoned garden. We have to try. Plant. Your mother looks skeptical. In this cold, in this darkness. We have to try, he repeats, jaw set. The next day, you help him in the secret garden, a tiny plot in the shadow of Constantinople's massive walls. The soil resists your makeshift wooden tools, but your father works with stubborn determination, turning the earth, creating neat rows. Just like home, he says, forcing cheer into his voice. Except for the towering wall blocking what little sun exists. Will they really grow? You ask, eyeing the beans dubiously. If the darkness lifts soon, he says. If not, he doesn't finish. As you cover the last seeds, a shadow falls over you. Two city guards watch your work, hands resting on sword hilts. What's this? One demands. Cultivating imperial land. Your father stands slowly, wiping dirt from his hands. Just a small garden. Trying to feed ourselves. Emperor's decree, the second guard snaps. All food production is under imperial control. Private gardens are forbidden during the emergency. We're not taking from anyone, your father argues. The first guard lowers his voice. Look, I don't like it either. But if we let you garden here, everyone will want their own patch. Then what? Fights over every inch of dirt. Please, your father says. My family is starving. The guards exchange glances. Finally, the second mutters. We didn't see anything today. But don't come back. Find somewhere, less obvious. Back in the cellar that night, your father is quiet, thinking. We'll find another spot, he finally says. Somewhere hidden. But you both know the truth. In a starving city, nowhere stays secret for long. That evening, shouts erupt in the street about a new imperial proclamation. The darkness, the heralds announce, is caused by a volcanic ash cloud from the far north. Scholars predict it will lift, eventually. At least we know what it is now, your mother whispers. Knowing doesn't fill our bellies, your father replies. At dawn, you wake to find gray ash dusting the ground, new flakes drifting from the hazy sky. People cover their mouths with cloth, eyes stinging. The air tastes bitter. See, Theo says when you meet him later. Fire Mountain, just like my dad said. When will it end? You ask. Theo shrugs. When the mountain stops spewing, or when the wind changes. Neither seems likely soon. As June bleeds into July with no improvement, Constantinople grows more desperate. Food riots multiply. The emperor stations extra soldiers in the streets, but even they look hungry and twitchy. Your father finds work helping build new granaries. The emperor's preparing for a long crisis, he explains. The pay is better than the docks, but the labor is brutal. He comes home each night with raw, blistered hands. Your mother starts queuing at the citizens' food line despite having no ration tokens, hoping for pity. Sometimes it works. Often it doesn't. In your cellar, one family has vanished, maybe left, maybe died. Their space is quickly taken by newcomers, a young couple with a baby that wails endlessly from hunger. We need to try growing food again, your father says one night. Not outside here. Theo told me people cultivate mushrooms in cellars. They don't need sunlight. Mushrooms? Your mother sounds doubtful. Are they safe? The right kinds are, your father says. Better than starving. The next day, he trades his good knife, one of your last valuables, for mushroom spores and instructions. He sets up a bed of damp straw in the cellar's darkest corner, carefully mixing in the spores. Now we wait, he says. If we're lucky, food in a few weeks. If we survive that long, you think but don't say. The Mushroom Project gives your family something to hope for, a tangible focus beyond daily survival. Each day, your father tends the growing medium, keeping it moist but not soaked. Meanwhile, the unnatural winter persists. Summer never truly arrives. The blue sun hangs like a ghostly eye, barely illuminating the world. Frost appears in July, killing any plants that struggled this far. One morning, about a week after starting the mushroom bed, you wake to your mother shivering violently with fever. Her skin burns to the touch. Her eyes are glassy. Get water, your father orders, face tight with fear. And find Agatha. She knows herbs. You sprint through the streets, finally locating Agatha in a courtyard with other elderly women sorting dried plants. My mother's sick. You gasp. Fever. Agatha's milky eyes sharpen. Take me to her. When you return, your father is cradling your mother's head, trying to get her to drink. She seems worse, breathing shallow and fast. Agatha kneels beside her, checking her pulse, peering into her eyes. How long has she been like this? Tired last night, your father says. Fever spiked this morning. Agatha's face darkens. There's sickness spreading in the city. The darkness, the hunger. People's bodies can't fight anymore. Can you help her? Your father asks, voice breaking. I'll try. Agatha opens her herb pouch, selecting several plants. Boil water. We'll make a tea. For days, your mother teeters between life and death. The fever rages, breaks, returns. Agatha's remedies help slightly, but without proper food or warmth, recovery is agonizingly slow. Your father stops working to stay by her side. The lost income means even less food, but there's no choice. You take over scavenging, joining the hordes of children combing the city for anything edible. Dropped grain, fish heads, even rats if you're quick enough. On the 5th day of her illness, you return to find your father smiling for the first time in weeks. The fever broke, he says. And look, he points to the mushroom bed. Tiny white caps push through the straw. Life finds a way. Agatha murmurs approvingly. For the first time in months, it feels like a good omen. Your mother's fever is gone, though she remains weak. The mushrooms are growing. Food is coming. Maybe, finally, things are turning around. But that night, as your family sleeps, shrieks and chaos erupt outside. Your father jerks awake, motioning you to stay put as he creeps to the door. What is it? Your mother whispers, voice frail. Before he can answer, the door bursts open. Demetrios stands there, face smeared with soot, sword in hand. Get up, he rasps. All of you. The city's burning. The world outside the cellar is chaos. Even in the perpetual twilight that has become normal, the glow of flames from multiple districts is unmistakable. People run in every direction, some clutching bundles of possessions, others simply fleeing blindly. The air reeks of smoke and panic. What happened? Your father demands, supporting your still weak mother with one arm. Demetrios keeps his sword ready as he guides your family through the panicked crowd. Food riot turned ugly. Someone torched an imperial granary when the guards refused to open it. The flames spread too fast to stop. Where are we going? You ask, struggling to keep up. The harbor, Demetrios says grimly. Ships are our only chance now. Ships to where? Your father asks. Anywhere but here. You glance back at the cellar that's been your home these past weeks. The mushrooms just beginning to sprout. The few possessions you're leaving behind. But there's no time for sentiment. The fire is spreading, and the narrow streets of the harbor district will funnel the flames straight toward you. Agatha joins your group, along with several others from the boarding house. Together, you push through the screaming crowds toward the waterfront. Progress is agonizingly slow. Your mother can barely walk even with support. The streets are jammed with people and abandoned carts. Look out! Someone shouts. A building to your right collapses in a shower of sparks and burning timber. The crowd surges away, nearly trampling those who stumble. Your father scoops you up with one arm, while somehow keeping your mother upright, forcing a path through the sea of bodies. By the time you reach the harbor, you're all coughing from smoke. The docks are as chaotic as the streets. Ships preparing to depart, people fighting to board, sailors beating back those without passage money. There, Demetrios points to a mid-sized merchant vessel where crews are frantically loading crates. The Sophia's Fortune. The captain owes me a favor. Will he take us? Your mother whispers, her face gray with exhaustion. He might. Nearby, a well-dressed man argues with a ship's officer, shaking a heavy coin pouch. Name your price. I'll double it. The officer shakes his head. No room, sir. We're at capacity. My children, the man pleads, gesturing to two little girls clinging to his legs. Take them at least. The scene repeats all along the docks. Desperate people, limited space, impossible choices. Demetrios returns, expression grim. Captain will take us, but we must board now. They leave with the tide. All of us. Your father asks, looking at your group, your family, Agatha, the others from the boarding house. He said his friend, Cuts in Sophia, the boarding house owner, a formidable woman with arms like a blacksmith, meaning Demetrios, not the rest of us. Demetrios looks uncomfortable. He has limited space. I told him you're all with me, but he wants payment. How much? Sophia asks bluntly. More than any of us have, Demetrios admits. A terrible silence falls. Behind you, the fire's roar grows louder. Time is running out. Take the children, your father says suddenly. That's all I ask. Our child and any others here. The adults will find another way. No, your mother protests, clutching you tighter despite her weakness. We stay together. But the idea spreads. Other parents in your group nod, pushing their children forward. Please, your father says to Demetrios. Whatever coins we have, whatever valuables, it's yours if you can get the children on that ship. Demetrios looks torn. Finally, he nods. I'll try. Gather what you can quickly. The next minutes are a blur. Parents frantically emptying their pockets. Children crying, unwilling to be separated. Your own parents argue in hushed, urgent tones. I won't leave you. You insist when your father kneels before you. Listen, he says, gripping your shoulders. The fire is coming. The city may not survive. This ship is your best chance. Then you come too. There's no room, no money. His voice cracks. Your mother and I will find another ship. We'll find you again. I promise. Before you can protest further, Demetrios returns. Captain says he'll take 6 children. No more. We must decide now. The adults exchange glances. A terrible understanding passes between them. There are 12 children in your group. The youngest, Agatha says firmly. The little ones with the most life ahead. No one argues. The math is cruel, but necessary. You're not among the 6 youngest. At nearly 11, you're in the middle. Your parents realize this simultaneously. Wait, your father says desperately to Demetrios. You're boarding, yes? You paid your passage. I have to, Demetrios says. I secured my spot weeks ago, when ships first started leaving. Take my child in your place, your father pleads. I'll give everything I have. Demetrios hesitates, looking from your father's face to yours. Behind you, the fire has reached the harbor district's edge. The heat is palpable now, smoke thickening the already dim air. All right, he says finally. But we must go now. There's no time for proper goodbyes. Your mother crushes you in a hug, whispering, I love you in your ear. Your father presses something into your hand, the small wooden bird carving he made for you years ago. For luck, he says. Remember us. Then you're being herded toward the ship with the other chosen children. The youngest are sobbing. A boy of about 5 keeps trying to run back to his mother, only to be caught and carried by Demetrios. You look back once. Your parents stand at the edge of the dock, your mother leaning heavily on your father. Both are waving. Behind them, Constantinople burns. It's an image that will haunt you forever. The ship is overcrowded with cargo and passengers. You and the other children are led below decks to a cramped space between spice crates. It's dark and stifling, but safer than the inferno you're leaving behind. Stay here, Demetrios tells you. I'll check on you when I can. As he turns to go, you grab his sleeve. My parents, you say? Will they find another ship? Demetrios's face is unreadable in the dim light. There are other ships, he says carefully, and your parents are resourceful. Try to rest. You feel the vessel begin to move, ropes being cast off or splashing. Through a small porthole, you catch a final glimpse of Constantinople, a city of shadows and flame, disappearing into the unnatural twilight. The journey is miserable. The ship is packed. Food and water are strictly rationed. Many passengers are seasick or ill from drinking tainted water. The children huddle together for warmth and comfort, sharing stories of the families they left behind, making promises about reunions. You don't join in. Something about Demetrios's careful wording, there are other ships, not they'll find passage or they'll be fine, has planted a seed of doubt. On the 3rd day, you corner Demetrios when he brings your group's meager rations. Tell me the truth, you demand. About my parents. About the others we left behind. Demetrios sighs, setting down the water jug. What do you want me to say? That they surely found another ship? That they definitely escaped the fire? I don't know these things. But you think they didn't, you press. He studies you for a long moment, then sits on a crate. The harbor was chaos, he says quietly. The fire was spreading. Most ships were already full or fleeing in panic. Could your parents have found passage? Maybe. Was it likely? He runs a hand through his hair. I'm sorry. That's the truth. The words hit like a physical blow. You'd clung to hope that your family would reunite, that this separation was temporary. Now that hope feels foolish. Why did you take me instead of yourself? You ask. Because I saw something in your father's eyes, Demetrios says simply. The same look my father had years ago when he put me on a ship during the Persian Wars. A parent who'll do anything to save their child. He pauses. I couldn't refuse that. You're silent for a long time, absorbing this. Where are we going? You finally ask. Sicily, Demetrios says. Part of the empire, but far from Constantinople. The captain has trade contacts there. They say the darkness isn't as bad in the west. That night, alone in your corner of the hold, you cry silently. For your parents, for your village, for everything lost to the darkness and flames. You clutch the wooden bird, your last connection to your old life. By dawn, though in this endless twilight, dawn is just a slight lightening. You've cried yourself out. Something inside you has changed. The child who left that Byzantine village is gone. In their place is someone harder. Someone who understands that survival sometimes means unbearable loss. The voyage to Sicily takes nearly 2 weeks of unpredictable weather, sudden storms, unnatural cold snaps, periods of dead calm when the oarsmen strain against windless seas. Through it all, the sky remains stubbornly dim, the sun a pale blue smudge barely visible through lingering haze. You learn Sicily is an island reclaimed by Emperor Justinian's armies as part of his grand plan to restore Rome's ancient glory. The captain chose it because its fertile farmland depends less on grain imports than Constantinople. If anywhere might have food during this crisis, it's Sicily. When land finally appears, a dark smudge resolving into mountains and coastline. The mood aboard lifts. People who haven't spoken for days suddenly find their voices, pointing at landmarks, making plans. We dock at Syracuse. Demetrios tells you and the other children. A decent-sized city. We can find work there. Shelter. What kind of work can children do? Asks a girl your age. All kinds, Demetrios says, not unkindly. This isn't Constantinople with its guilds and regulations. It's the frontier now. Everyone works. The harbor at Syracuse is smaller than Constantinople's, but bustling. Ships crowd the docks loading and unloading. You notice immediately that while the sky is still dim, the darkness here isn't as oppressive. The air feels warmer too. As your ship docks, officials come aboard inspecting cargo and passengers. There's a heated argument between them and the captain. Raised voices, gestures at the overcrowded deck. Demetrios looks worried. What's happening? You ask. They're saying the city's full, he explains. Too many refugees from the eastern provinces. They don't want more. After everything you've endured, will you be turned away again? But Demetrios is resourceful. He speaks to the officials, gesturing at the children. You can't hear what he says, but his expression is earnest, persuasive. Finally, one official nods reluctantly. We can stay, Demetrios announces. But temporarily. We're expected to find work and move inland within a month. What about the others? Someone asks, nodding at the adult passengers. Some can stay, some can't. Demetrios' tone makes it clear he won't elaborate. As you disembark, you see the unlucky ones, those denied entry, being herded back onto ships or onto other vessels. Their protests go unheard. Syracuse, like Constantinople, is overwhelmed. The city itself is a curious mix. Ancient Greek buildings beside Roman constructions and Byzantine additions. The streets wind confusingly up hills and down to the harbor. Greeks, Romans, Jews, Goths, Africans, all subjects of Justinian's reclaimed empire, mingle together. Demetrios leads your group to a church near the harbor where a harried priest reluctantly lets you stay in an outbuilding. It's basic, just a roof, walls, and floor, but after the ship, it feels luxurious. Rest today, Demetrios says. Tomorrow, we look for work and permanent shelter. That evening, as you settle onto your patch of floor, a small figure sits beside you. It's one of the younger children from the ship, a boy about 6 named Marcus. Are your parents dead too? He asks with the brutal honesty of children. I don't know, you answer truthfully. They were in Constantinople when the fire started. Marcus nods solemnly. My mother died last winter. My father put me on the ship before the fire reached us. He said he'd find another way. He looks down. Demetrios says he probably didn't. You don't know how to comfort him, so you sit in silence together, 2 children adrift in a world turned upside down. The next morning, Demetrios divides your group for efficiency. You, Marcus, and 2 others are assigned to stay with Demetrios himself. I have connections here, he explains. A cousin who works in grain storage. He might help. The cousin, a bald man named Pavlos, lives in a small house on Syracuse's outskirts with his wife and 3 children. When Demetrios arrives with 4 extra children, Pavlos is less than pleased. Have you lost your mind? He demands. We can barely feed ourselves. We won't be a burden, Demetrios promises. The older ones can work. I'll find jobs for all of us. Work where? Pavlos snaps. The city's flooded with refugees. Every position has 10 people fighting for it. The argument continues until Pavlos' wife intervenes. Whatever she says works. Pavlos emerges scowling but resigned. You can stay in the shed out back. 2 weeks only. And everyone works, even the little ones. True to his word, Pavlos finds work for all of you. You and the oldest girl, Lucia, help at the grain warehouse, sweeping floors, running errands. Marcus and the other boy, Titus, assist Pavlos' wife with garden and chickens. The work is hard, but comes with an unexpected blessing, food. Not much, and not luxurious. Bread, cheese, occasional fish or vegetables, but regular meals. After months of near starvation, it feels like a feast. You begin regaining weight lost during the darkness. There's hope here that Constantinople lacked. Though the sky is still dim, crops are growing in Sicily, stunted and delayed, but growing. Fishing continues. Life adapts. One evening about a week after your arrival, you're sweeping the warehouse floor when you overhear Pavlos talking with another worker. Africa's even better, Pavlos is saying. Almost normal crops, just a little behind. How can that be? The other man asks. The darkness is everywhere. Not equally. Worst in the east and north, better in the south and west. Something about wind patterns. That night, you ask Demetrios about it. Is it true the darkness is lifting in some places? He considers this. Not lifting exactly. More that it was never as bad in some regions. Africa, southern Italy, parts of Hispania. The ash cloud is thicker in the east. So Constantinople might improve too? Demetrios sighs. Maybe eventually. But there's the fire to consider. And the famine already underway. He puts a hand on your shoulder. I know you want to hope. Just be prepared for any outcome. The days settle into a rhythm. Work, meals, sleep. The shed behind Pavlos's house is cramped but dry. You share it with Demetrios and the other children, sleeping on straw pallets. It's not comfortable, but it's stable. The first real stability since the darkness began. You notice changes in yourself. You're more watchful, more careful with food and possessions. You've learned to work quietly to avoid drawing attention. These are survival skills earned through hard experience. 2 weeks pass, then 3. Pavlos stops mentioning the deadline for you to leave. Maybe his wife convinced him. Maybe he's realized the extra hands are useful. Whatever the reason, your temporary shelter becomes semi-permanent. Word comes about conditions elsewhere. Constantinople is rebuilding after the fire, but slowly. The darkness persists throughout the empire, though with regional variations. Crops continue to struggle in most areas. Famine spreads. And now, rumors of a new threat. Disease moving through weakened populations. Plague. You overhear Pavlos telling Demetrios one evening. Started in Egypt, they say. Moving north. People dying by the thousands. Here, Demetrios asks sharply. Not yet, but trade continues. Ships still come from Egypt. It's just a matter of time. That night, you dream of your parents. In the dream, they're standing on the burning dock in Constantinople, waving as your ship pulls away. But unlike reality, the flames don't consume them. They find another vessel. They escape. They're searching for you even now. You wake with tears on your face, the wooden bird clutched in your hand. Weeks turn into months. Summer, such as it is in this darkened world, gives way to autumn. The blue sun remains dim, but some days it seems brighter, the haze thinner. On these days, spirits lift throughout Syracuse. People venture outdoors more. Markets bustle. Children play in streets that were silent before. You've grown closer to the other children, especially Marcus. His resilience amazes you. Despite losing his parents and home, he finds reasons to smile, to laugh, to play like the child he is. You find yourself looking after him, becoming the sibling he needs. Demetrios notices this. You're good with him. He comments one evening as you help Marcus mend a torn tunic. He needs someone. We all do. You reply simply. The conversation turns to the future, something you've avoided thinking about too much. But with winter approaching, plans must be made. Pavlos has been generous, Demetrios says. But this was never meant to be permanent. The shed will be too cold in winter. Where will we go? You ask, the old fear of displacement rising again. I've been asking around. There's work in the countryside, farms needing hands. They provide housing. Hard work, but steady. He hesitates. All of us together might not be possible. Different farms need different workers. The younger children might do better in the city with families needing help. The thought of separating from Marcus after everything you've endured is painful. You've become a makeshift family bound by shared trauma. I want to stay with Marcus, you say firmly. Demetrios nods, unsurprised. I thought you might say that. I'll see what I can arrange. True to his word, Demetrios finds a placement that will take both you and Marcus, a medium-sized farm about a day's journey inland. The owner, a widow named Helena, needs workers to replace those who fled when the darkness began. She can't pay much, Demetrios explains. But there's housing, food, and she's willing to take both of you. Leaving Syracuse is harder than expected. Despite being there only a few months, it had become familiar, safe. Lucia and Titus will remain in the city, taken in by families needing household help. Your little group is breaking apart. The morning of departure, you gather your few possessions, clothes provided by Pavlos' wife, your wooden bird, the small knife Demetrios gave you. Marcus does the same, his bundle even smaller than yours. Demetrios will accompany you to the farm, then return to Syracuse, where he's found steady work at the harbor. He's been a constant since Constantinople, a guardian when you had no one else. Will you visit? You ask him. When I can, he promises. And if you ever need anything. I know, you say, smiling. We'll find you. The inland road is better maintained than you expected, a remnant of Roman engineering kept up by Justinian's administrators. Other travelers share the path, merchants with carts, soldiers on patrol, farmers bringing goods to market. Everyone looks thin. Everyone moves with purpose. There's no room for idleness in this dimmed world. As you walk, you notice something you hadn't in the city. The landscape is changing. Trees that should be in full autumn color are just beginning to turn. Crops that should have been harvested months ago are only now ripening. The darkness has slowed everything, created a perpetual delay in nature's rhythms. Will it ever go back to normal? Marcus asks, noticing the same thing. The old folks say yes, Demetrios answers. There have been dark years before, though none this long. The sun always returns eventually. By midday, you see your destination, a cluster of buildings nestled in a valley surrounded by fields. Smoke rises from chimneys. Even from here, you can see workers harvesting whatever has managed to grow in the dim light. That's Helena's farm, Demetrios confirms. Larger than most around here. She inherited it from her husband, old Roman family that stayed when others fled to Constantinople centuries ago. As you get closer, the farm comes into focus. A stone main house, 2 stories tall, surrounded by smaller buildings. Barns, sheds, workers' quarters. Fields of wheat, olives, vegetables. Sheep grazing on a hillside. It's a substantial operation. Helena meets you at the edge of her property, a tall woman with iron-gray hair and sun-weathered skin. Despite the general thinness marking everyone in these hungry times, she stands straight and strong. These are the children? She asks Demetrios, looking you and Marcus over with a critical eye. Yes, both hard workers. Helena nods, apparently satisfied. They'll need to be. There's no place for idleness here. Her tone is firm, but not unkind. Come, I'll show you where you'll stay. The worker housing is basic but solid, a long building divided into small rooms, each with a straw mattress, a shelf, a small fireplace. You and Marcus will share one. Meals are communal. Helena explains as she leads you around the farm. Everyone works, everyone eats. Work starts at first light, ends at dusk. Rest days every 7th day, unless there's urgent harvest work. It's a strict regime, but fair. And after months of uncertainty, the clarity of expectations is almost a relief. That evening, as you and Marcus settle into your new quarters, Demetrios prepares to leave. He'll stay the night, then head back to Syracuse in the morning. You'll be all right here, he tells you, helping start a fire in your small hearth. Helena runs a tight operation, but she's fair. The work is hard, but honest. Thank you, you say suddenly, for everything. For taking me instead of yourself on the ship. For keeping us safe. Demetrios looks embarrassed. I just did what anyone would do. But you both know that's not true. In a world turned dark and desperate, many thought only of themselves. Demetrios chose differently. If you ever hear anything about Constantinople, about survivors from the fire, my parents, I'll send word immediately, he promises. Ships still come from the east. News travels, even in these times. In the morning, you watch from the field's edge as Demetrios disappears down the road towards Syracuse. Your last connection to your old life, to Constantinople, to the parents you lost. Now it's just you and Marcus, beginning yet another chapter in this darkened world. As you turn back toward the farm, toward the work waiting, toward the life you'll build here, you feel the weight of the wooden bird in your pocket. You touch it briefly, a talisman of hope and memory. Then you square your shoulders and move forward. The darkness may continue, but so do you. Winter settles over Sicily with a bite that would have been unremarkable before the darkness, but now feels like nature's cruel joke. The sun, though stronger than during the worst of the haze, still struggles to warm the earth properly. At Helena's farm, preparations for the cold months take on renewed urgency after 2 years of famine. Your new home is better than you expected. The workers' house Helena assigned your family is small but sturdy, with a proper hearth and thick stone walls that hold heat. After months of makeshift shelters, it feels almost luxurious. Your father immediately sets to improving it, stuffing cracks with mud and straw, carving proper shelves from scrap wood. These small acts of creation feel like defiance against the darkness that took so much. Marcus thrives in the farm environment. His natural way with animals earns him special responsibilities, helping with lambing, nursing sick goats back to health. You often find him whispering to the sheep like they're old friends. They understand more than people think. He tells you seriously one evening as you both carry firewood. The farm work is relentless but purposeful. Mornings begin before dawn feeding livestock. Days are spent repairing tools, spinning wool, preserving the last autumn harvest. Evenings often find the whole farm gathered in the main house's large kitchen, mending clothes or tools by firelight, while Helena oversees inventory calculations. One such evening, as you help sort dried herbs, Helena makes an announcement. The imperial tax collectors will come next week. We'll give them their fifth and not a grain more. Her tone brokers no argument. Hide the seed grains separately. What's left must last until spring. Your father, now Helena's trusted foreman, nods. We've accounted for it. The new storage pit near the sheep pen is ready. This practical conspiracy against imperial demands would have terrified you a year ago. Now it feels like common sense. Survival has its own morality. Later, as your family prepares for bed, Marcus asks the question that's been haunting you all. Will it be enough? The food, I mean. Your father doesn't lie. If the winter isn't too long, if the rats don't find our stores, if the tax men don't decide to take more. He ruffles Marcus's hair. Morris than I'd like, but better chances than most have. The first snow comes in December, late by pre-darkness standards, but right on time for this strange new world. It falls softly one night, blanketing the farm in quiet purity. In the morning, the children, yourselves included, can't resist making the first footprints, tossing handfuls at each other until Helena calls you to work. That night, as you sit with Marcus by your hearth, he surprises you. I don't remember snow from before. Is it always like this? You realize with a pang that he might truly not remember. He was so young when the darkness came. It used to be colder, you tell him. The snow stayed longer. We'd build ice houses in the village to store meat all winter. He tries to imagine this world of reliable seasons, but you can tell it's like a story to him. No more real than the tales of Rome's glory that Thomas sometimes tells. The darkness has become his normal. Midwinter brings an unexpected visitor, a traveling scholar seeking shelter from the cold. Helena is suspicious at first. The plague rumors still circulate, but the man's knowledge of weather patterns earns him a place by the fire for a few nights. The ash is clearing, he tells the gathered farmhands, sketching diagrams in the hearth ashes. See how the stars are brighter now? The particles are settling. Next year's crops should be nearer to normal. Should be. Helena echoes sharply. The scholar spreads his hands. Nature is resilient, but slow. The earth remembers such insults. But yes, the worst is past. His words kindle something long dormant in all of you. Not quite hope, but perhaps the possibility of hope. That night, for the first time in memory, no one dreams of hunger. The winter passes slowly, but without major crises. The food stores hold. The tax collectors take their share and leave without trouble. By the time the first green shoots appear in the orchard, the farm feels like home in a way no place has since your village. One bright morning in March, Almost exactly 3 years since the darkness began, Helena calls everyone to the main field. The winter wheat is coming up strong, the green shoots thick and healthy. We'll have a proper harvest this year, she declares, and there's something like joy in her voice. As you walk back from the fields, you notice the sunlight feels different, not just stronger, but somehow more familiar. The blue tinge is gone. When you mention this to your father, he stops walking abruptly and holds up his hand. A perfect shadow stretches across the ground. You both stare at it like it's a miracle, because in a way it is. That night, the farm celebrates with an impromptu feast. The last of the winter stores stretch to make a meal that feels lavish after years of scarcity. There's music, crude but enthusiastic, and even dancing. Helena surprises everyone by producing a cask of wine she'd hidden away. To the sun's return, she toasts, raising her cup. Everyone echoes the sentiment. No one mentions that some among you didn't live to see this day. The living owe them that much joy. Spring unfolds in a way you'd almost forgotten was possible. Leaves unfurling on schedule, blossoms appearing, birds returning with their songs. The farm buzzes with activity as planting begins in earnest. You often catch yourself simply staring at the sky, marveling at its ordinary blueness. One evening, as you help your mother in the kitchen garden, she asks quietly, "Do you ever think about going back to our village?" You pause, trowel in hand. The question surprises you, not because it's strange, but because you realize you haven't thought about it in months. Is there anything to go back to? She shakes her head. Probably not. I just wondered if you missed it. You consider this as you pat soil around a young herb plant. I miss how things were before. But this is good too. You gesture at the farm around you, the solid buildings, the fields full of promise, Marcus chasing chickens nearby. It's different, but it's not less. Your mother smiles in that way she is lately, still tinged with sadness, but no longer shadowed by despair. That's a wise way to see it. Summer arrives with real warmth, the kind that makes you sweat as you work, that turns the pond inviting rather than deadly. The wheat grows tall and golden, the fruit trees bend under their bounty. When harvest time comes, the entire farm works from dawn till dusk, but no one complains. After years of scarcity, abundance feels like a gift. The imperial tax collectors return in August, but this time their presence doesn't inspire dread. Helena meets them with her usual stern demeanor, but there's confidence behind it now. She hands over the required portion without argument. This year, it doesn't mean starvation. That night, as your family sits outside your house enjoying the evening breeze, your father carves a new wooden bird, a mate for the one you've carried all this time. He hands it to Marcus without ceremony. So you'll always remember this year. Marcus holds it carefully, reverently. "I won't forget." And you realize with sudden clarity that he won't. None of you will. The darkness has marked you all in ways seen and unseen. But as you watch the first stars appear in a sky finally free of haze, you understand something equally important. The light has marked you too. The harvest festival of 539 CE becomes legend on Helena's farm. Not for its extravagance. The celebrations remain simple by pre-darkness standards, but for what it represents. The first truly bountiful harvest since the blue sun appeared. When Helena orders an entire sheep slaughtered for the feast, even the oldest workers stare in disbelief. You help roast the meat on spits over the main fire pit, the rich smell of fat dripping onto coals making your mouth water. Marcus dances around with the other children, their laughter ringing across the yard. For the first time in years, no one tells them to conserve energy. As twilight falls, real twilight now, with the sun setting properly for the first time in living memory for some of the younger children, Helena stands on a bench to address everyone. 3 years ago, she begins, and the crowd falls silent. The sun forgot its purpose. The earth grew cold. Many said the end had come. She gestures at the laden tables. Today we prove them wrong. A cheer rises up, cups clinking. But your father's eyes meet yours, and you both know the unspoken truth. The darkness may have lifted, but its shadow lingers. The world that emerged isn't the same one that vanished. This becomes apparent when travelers bring news from Syracuse. The plague that began in Egypt has finally reached Sicily, though thankfully not our district yet. Emperor Justinian's ambitious rebuilding projects in Constantinople have stalled again after another earthquake. And along the northern borders, new groups, Slavs, Avars, are testing the empire's weakened defenses. Always something, Thomas mutters as he hears this news. The old farmhand has survived the darkness in better health than many younger men, but his shoulders slump slightly at this latest report. No peace for the living. Yet life on the farm continues its steady rhythm. The autumn planting proceeds on schedule. The sheep are bred for winter lambs. And to everyone's surprise, especially Helena's, your father proposes an expansion. The western field lies fallow since old Gregor died. He points out at the evening meeting. With the new workers from Syracuse, we could clear it for vineyards. Wine brings better prices than grain. Helena considers this, her calloused fingers tapping the accounting tablets. And if the plague comes, or the darkness returns, then we'll have better wine to drink while starving. Thomas jokes, earning chuckles. But your father's plan is sound, and after careful calculation, Helena agrees. The project gives purpose to the shortening autumn days. You and Marcus help clear stones from the field, your hands growing tough with new calluses. One crisp October morning, as you're preparing the trellises for next year's vines, a shout comes from the road. A messenger, one of the fast imperial couriers, gallops toward the main house. By the time you arrive, Helena is already reading the scroll, her face unreadable. Another tax, she announces to the gathered workers. Justinian needs funds for his wars in Italy. 1/10 of this harvest, on top of the usual fifth. The groans are immediate. How are we to survive? Someone cries. We will, Helena says sharply. Because we're smarter than they are. She turns to your father. That vineyard just became our priority. Wine's easier to hide than grain. This practical defiance becomes farm policy. Hidden compartments appear in storage sheds. False walls are constructed in the cellars. Everyone participates. Even the children are set to weaving extra baskets that can be quickly filled and buried if needed. Marcus takes to this subterfuge with surprising enthusiasm. It's like playing hide the stone. He confides to you as you both dig a small pit behind the sheep pen. Except the stone is food, and the seekers are imperial soldiers. You can't help but smile at his resilience. The darkness took his parents, nearly starved him, forced him to grow up too fast. Yet here he is, turning survival into a game. You tousle his hair, leaving a streak of dirt across his forehead. Just don't let Helena hear you call it that. The imperial collectors arrive as the first winter frosts appear. They're thorough, poking grain sacks with iron rods to detect false bottoms, inspecting storage rooms with practiced eyes, but find nothing amiss. Helena serves them surprisingly good wine during their inspection, keeping them occupied while the real stores remain hidden. When they leave, the farm celebrates their small victory with an extra ration of ale. So outsmarting emperors, Thomas toasts wryly. But the reprieve is short-lived. A week later, a different kind of traveler arrives. A gaunt woman leading 2 skeletal children. They collapse at the gate before anyone can stop them. Helena, to her credit, doesn't turn them away. The woman, once clearly wealthy, judging by the remnants of her fine wool cloak, tells of villages emptied by plague north of Syracuse. The dead lie unburied. She whispers as your mother tends to her blistered feet. The living walk past them like they're stones. Her words send a chill through the farm. Quarantine measures are implemented immediately. No one enters without inspection. Travelers are housed in a separate shed. All trade goods are washed in vinegar. The plague may come, Helena declares, but we won't make it welcome. Winter sets in properly then, the first real test of the farm's rebuilt stores. Thanks to the hidden reserves, no one goes hungry, though meals remain simple. The new wine, young and harsh, provides warmth on the coldest nights. Marcus turns 9 during the winter solstice celebration. Your parents gift him a proper shepherd's crook, carved with his name. He sleeps with it that night, unwilling to let it out of his sight. Your own gift is more practical. A bronze knife like your father's, though smaller. Its weight at your belt makes you feel older, more capable. 5 years after the darkness first descended, Helena's farm thrives like an oasis in the still recovering countryside. The vineyard your father planted now produces wine good enough to trade as far as Syracuse. The schoolhouse overflows with children, not just from the farm, but from neighboring homesteads whose parents pay in eggs or labor for the privilege. You've grown into your role as a teacher's assistant, helping the younger children with their letters while Marcus, now nearly 12 and almost as tall as you, leads the flock to pasture each morning. Some days, when the light is just right and the air carries the scent of ripening grapes, you almost forget the hunger and fear that once defined your world. Almost. The wooden bird remains in your pocket, its edges worn smooth as sea glass. You take it out sometimes when no one's looking, running your thumb over the faint grooves of wings your father carved all those years ago in another life. Not because you need the reminder anymore, but because you choose to remember. News from the wider world comes sporadically. Emperor Justinian's grand reconquest of Italy stalls, then revives, then stalls again. The plague resurfaces in cycles, though never as viciously as those first terrible years. And in the east, new powers rise. Persia grows bold, testing Byzantium's weakened borders. But here, in this corner of Sicily, life settles into patterns that feel almost timeless. The seasons turn, crops grow, children laugh in the schoolyard. The darkness becomes something spoken of in the past tense, though its lessons remain. On your 16th birthday, a concept that barely existed during the famine years, Helena presents you with an unexpected gift, a bound codex of blank parchment pages. For your writings, she says gruffly, as if embarrassed by her own generosity. The children should know what happened. Properly, that night, by candlelight, you pen the first words of what will become the farm's chronicle. In the year 536, the sun turned blue. The story flows easier than you expected. The words carry memories of things you thought forgotten. The exact sound of your village's market bell, the way sunlight used to dance on the Bosphorus, the smell of your mother's bread before she started mixing it with acorns. Marcus finds you still writing at dawn, ink-stained and bleary-eyed. He reads over your shoulder silently. Then, unexpectedly, recites a line from Homer's Odyssey that Thomas had taught him. Even his griefs are a joy long after to one that remembers all that he wrought and endured. You both sit with that thought as the sun rises properly, golden and whole, over fields that no longer fear the night. Summer brings another harvest, another festival. This year, there's music beyond the crude pipes and drums of previous celebrations. Real instruments brought by traveling merchants. The wine flows freely, and for the first time, you're allowed a cup with the adults. It's during this celebration that Helena makes her announcement. "I'm getting old," she declares, silencing the chatter. "The farm needs young blood at the helm." Her gaze finds your father. "You've proven yourself 10 times over. The land will be yours when I'm gone, provided you swear to maintain the school and care for those who can't work." The silence that follows is absolute. Then your father, normally so measured, lets out a whoop that sends birds flying from the orchard. The celebration redoubles, lasting well into the night. Later, as the embers die down, you find Helena staring at the stars. "Didn't think I'd live to see them again," she admits when you join her. "That damn blue haze." She turns to study your face. "You'll help your father run things? Keep the records?" You nod, touching the codex under your arm. "Someone has to remember." "Good." She pats your hand, the closest to affection she's ever shown. Fools repeat history. We've had enough of that. Autumn arrives with its usual bustle, preserves to make, livestock to prepare for winter, the last grapes to harvest. But this year, there's an undercurrent of something new, anticipation. The farm will continue, not just as a refuge, but as a legacy. One crisp morning, as you're checking the schoolhouse doors, a commotion erupts outside. Rushing out, you find Marcus kneeling beside a collapsed traveler, a gaunt man whose face seems familiar despite the years etched into it. Then your breath catches. The scar. The same jagged line down his cheek from that day on the road outside your village, when the soldiers first told you the darkness was everywhere. "Captain," you whisper. His eyes focus with effort. Still alive then, he rasps. Good. The farm erupts into action. Agatha barking orders, your mother boiling water, Helena herself fetching the good wine from the hidden cellar. The captain, it turns out, survived the Italian campaigns only to find his homeland unrecognizable. He'd been wandering between familiar places, he explains over broth, trying to stitch together some semblance of the world he knew. Your father asks the question you're all thinking. Did you ever pass through our old village? The captain's face answers before his words do. Gone. Most of the eastern provinces are. Between the famine and the plague. He shakes his head. But the land remembers. Wild grapes grow where your vineyards were. You could taste your family's work in them. This strange poetry from a hardened soldier makes your throat tighten. Later, when the others have retired, you show him your chronicle. He traces the words with a calloused finger, his lips moving silently over the descriptions of Constantinople burning. Keep writing, he says finally. The empire forgets its own history. Maybe some farmer's scribbles will outlast the palace proclamations. Winter comes gently that year, the first snow falling on ground properly prepared. The captain stays, his military experience proving useful for organizing the farm's defenses against wolves and the occasional bandit. He and Thomas often sit by the fire trading stories, one of empire and battle, the other of soil and seasons. On the solstice, as the household gathers to mark the year's turning, your father does something unexpected. From a hidden compartment in his workbench, he produces a small wooden box. Inside rests a necklace, a simple bronze pendant shaped like a sheaf of wheat. Your mother's, he says, fastening it around your neck. Her mother's before that. We kept it hidden through everything. The metal rests warm against your collarbone, its weight both foreign and comforting. Now it's yours. You wear it the next morning when the first visitors arrive for the winter school session, children from 3 neighboring farms, their cheeks rosy with cold and health. As you help them with their letters, the pendant swings forward, catching the light. One of the younger girls reaches out curiously. Pretty, she says. What is it? You pause, realizing she's never seen jewelry before. Not real jewelry, not the kind made for beauty rather than barter. The thought makes your chest ache even as you smile. It's a reminder, you say, tucking it back under your tunic. Now, where were we? Ah yes, the letter B. The lesson continues, the children's voices rising and falling like birdsong. Outside, the winter sun, ordinary, blessed, unremarkable, shines on fields lying fallow, on vines sleeping beneath the snow, on a farm that has become more than just a refuge. It has become home, and in your pocket, the wooden bird rests lightly, no longer a weight but a choice.